This is the walkthrough video for my 2008 Gulfstream Yellowstone, also referred to as motorhome number 1. We're going to go ahead and start with the outside here. If you have any questions after watching this video, please contact me and feel free to ask anything. Happy to help you with it. So, this first compartment we're coming to here, this is the generator compartment here. That's actually all controlled from the inside of the motorhome, so you shouldn't have to do anything out here. This guy here is where you will find your electrical plug. You got that right here, your regular outlet, if that's what they have at the campground. That is removable. Apologize for the quality of my video here, but you also have the 30 amp connector right here, if that's what they have at the campground. Either one you'll be able to hook up and have power to the camper. This guy right here, this is the hot water heater, and you'll have hot exhaust coming out of here, so you don't want to touch that, when it's running, because that does get pretty hot. Same thing with the furnace here. This is the furnace outlet. That does produce quite a bit of heat, from the exhaust here, so you don't want to be touching that. You got a cable park TV hookup if you want to hook it up to cable if they have that. This compartment down here is where my batteries are, so you don't have to worry about those. This compartment down here is the dump station. I'll go ahead and show you that stuff here. There are these holding clamps right here to hold the doors open for you. You just want to make sure you unsnap them before you close it, because they will just snap off and break. It's not a huge deal. They're like 10 bucks or something like that. So this is your sewer outlet right there. Your dump hose is actually inside the bumper cover here. You just stick your finger in there and pull that off, and there's your hose. You pull that guy out there. This end here with these hooks on it. Come down here, slip it on the hose here, click it on. It'll lock on these little lock tabs right here. And then you take the other end and you put it into the sewer outlet where you have your dump station. You have two dump valves. You have this big black one. This is for your toilet. This is the one you always want to open up first. This is all the gross stuff. So you grab this handle, you pull it straight up, and it'll go and dump all its stuff. When it's done, you close it. You come down here to this smaller valve. This is going to be your shower water, your sink water, and basically all your clean water that comes out. So once that's ready, you just pull that out, and it'll kind of rush out, and it'll kind of wash everything out and make it look a little cleaner and not be as gross. And when you're done, you close that. At the end of your trip, just leave these valves open. It's really common for the black tank to misread because of debris on the sensors, and it's just easier to leave them open at the end of your trip. That way everybody knows that it's indeed dumped and actually ready to go for the next renter. Eliminates any guesswork there. Okay, so we have your gas tank here, unleaded fuel only. Just regular unleaded fuel. There's nothing fancy about that there. On that note, the generator does run off of the gas from this gas tank. The generator will not get fuel if you get below, I'm just going to say, a third of a tank of fuel. So you want to make sure that if you want to use the generator, that you have more than a third of a tank of fuel. We got a spare tire on this one. Apologize for the iron staining on here. I haven't got that to come back off, but this is the city water connection. I guess this happens when people don't have the hose connected all the way. It'll sit there and leak out and leave a nasty little stain for you. But I apologize for that, and hopefully by the time you get it, you'll not have the stain there. But if you're at a campground, you can hook the water hose up to this guy here, and it'll bypass your storage tank of water, so that way you're not using your water from when you're on the road. This is the storage tank water. To fill that up, you just open it up, put the garden hose inside of here, and fill it up. You do want to monitor this when you're doing it. you'll start to hear it gurgling and starting to sputter a little bit. And as soon as it does that, you do want to pull the hose out. If the hose is left in here under pressure, it can actually damage the tank. But most likely it'll blow out the filler hose, which will basically just cause water to spray all over the inside of the motorhome, which is a pretty hard thing to get cleaned up. So there's that. On this other side here, we have the electrical outlets. If you have something you want to plug in outside. We have your propane tank down here. And you'll see this one's not quite reading full. It's actually full. It's very common to see these misread a little bit. So when you're done with your trip and you fill it up and it says, you know, not quite full, I do know that that means it's full and that it's nothing to worry about. So in Alaska, when you go to a gas station, they will fill up the propane for you. We're not allowed to do that ourselves here. So there you go. These propane tanks, if you're running the furnace, will typically last a week. If you're not running the furnace, you know, 2 weeks is pretty easy to get out of them if you're running the fridge, not hooked up to electric. This guy here, this is the fridge outlet. It does run on propane when you're not on electric, so it's common to have a bit of an exhaust smell coming from here, or even water dripping out of the condenser hose right here. So that is perfectly normal, nothing to worry about. This is the storage compartment on this guy. I do call it the ejection compartment. It's easy to not get it locked properly. These little release tabs here, they do go 360 degrees, but there is only one position in which they actually lock. So I highly recommend that when you lock them, you give them a pull. Make sure that you got them in the right spot. Inside here you'll have camping chairs, you have the garden hose for filling up your water. There's blue box here that's got your orange self-leveling blocks on it. You stack them and then you gotta, I said self-leveling, that's a mistake in my speech. They're leveling blocks, they're quite manual. But you stack them and then you just drive up on top of them to kind of level yourself out. You'll also find in here the rubber gloves for doing the sewage disposal, emergency hazard triangles, and in case you do need to use it, there's a key lock box here as well. And I usually have that in case I'm unable to meet you. When you return the motor home, you can put the keys in it, and we're doing these videos to automate the pickup process as well. So when we do that, the keys will be in there and you'll get the key code for the lockbox once all the paperwork has been submitted and payment has been made. That way you can come and put in the key code, grab your key, and be off on your adventure. This guy does have a light bar on the front of it. It is hooked to the high beam switch on the headlights. So you want to make sure you don't have that on unless you absolutely need it and there's nobody in front of you, because it will definitely blind people. That's everything on the exterior, so we're going to move to the interior here. A few things that are noteworthy on this thing is that there's this emergency switch here, and this is basically jumper cables between the camper and the truck itself. So if you left your headlights on and killed the truck battery and your coach batteries are still good, you can press and hold this and start the vehicle off of the coach battery. Works both directions. The other thing we like to show people is the see if I can get it to focus there and actually like light up. There you go. The tire pressure gauge here. It's pretty self-explanatory as far as which tire is which. Typically you'll see the tire pressure fluctuate between 65 and 85 degrees, sorry, pounds, based on temperature, elevation, other things such as that. This is solar charged as well, so you shouldn't have to worry about the battery. If for whatever reason it freaks out and the battery starts to go low, on the back side there is a, sorry, get to a better view here, this negative button. If you press and hold that, it'll shut off. that does happen every now and then. So if you get below 58 pounds of pressure, it will start to beep at you. If it gets any lower than that, we definitely want to figure out what's happening and get the tires taken care of before there's an issue. So other than that, it's a pretty standard standard cab. You know, you got your air conditioning, your vent, your floor, your mix, your defrost. You got your regular radio in there. I apologize, I got a button that got ripped out, so missing one preset. Other than that, it seems to work just fine. It's everything in the cab area here, so we'll hop out of here and we'll show you the inside of the camper here. This camper does have a manual step, so you just grab that guy, pull it out. When you go to put it back in, you'll notice there's a little lock tab there. You want to make sure it gets in there so it doesn't walk itself out when you're driving. Not that it would hurt anything if it did. Sometimes you might see that come out while you're driving, and I guess it'll be out. When you go to close this door, well, okay, now it's going to make me a liar because it just closed without having to slam it. So, all right, never mind. Well, a lot of times with this one, you had to pull the handle to actually get it to lock, but it seems to be happy now. So, you do have a screen door latch release right here. That way you can have your screen door out here, keep the bugs out. Slide this guy over so that way it keeps them out of there too. Want to be careful not to use this as a handle. A lot of people try to do that. It does just break. It's pretty flimsy. So when you're done, you can lock it back into this little lock tab right here. That way it stays with the main door. To the right, you have a fire extinguisher. To the left, you have the main battery on-off switch. I usually just leave that in the on position. You have your porch light, and you have your electric step. This no longer has an electric step, so that switch does not do anything. Thermostat control is right here. It is currently clicked into the off position. If you want it on, you turn it on and you'll hear your furnace kick on. It's got a few different outlets. It's got one here. It's got one down here in the bathroom as well. And it's got some down underneath the seat here. Your furnace runs on propane and off of the battery, or if you're plugged in, and you know, it'll run off of that electricity instead of your battery. If you go to shut off your furnace, it doesn't turn off right away. It's going through a cool down process. That's pretty normal for it to do, even though it's not hot. The main control panel is right here. You can press your test level, and you'll see that your battery is reading low, and that's actually just reading low because that's still going. So it's actually important to know that if you want to test your battery, the only way to really do that is to make sure everything's turned off and then press that button to test it. So you'll notice this one does not read full on propane. That is actually because there it goes right there. There's a weak connection on that light, and it doesn't always light up. So I haven't changed that out yet because it requires changing the whole panel, and it doesn't seem to be that big of a deal. Your fresh water is reading full. I typically will have these full. The water I use is good water, but I wouldn't recommend drinking that water. I'm not sure, you know, what other people put inside the tanks. So right now, this one's actually reading accurately with the black and gray tank being empty. That's not always the case. Most of the time, the black tank does misread. Best way to know what's going on with your black tank is when you flush the toilet, just look down the toilet and you'll see exactly what level you're at. Hot water heater right here. When you turn that on, the pilot outlight will light up red until it lights itself. Sometimes that can take 10 seconds. Sometimes that takes 30 seconds. But when it does, you'll hear a pop and a whoosh, and this light will turn out. And once that happens, just like that, it takes about 15 minutes and you'll start getting some hot water. It's a very small tank, so obviously anytime you're in a motorhome, you want to be conservative with your water use. Showers are the #1 killer of your water tank. This is your water pump switch. You'll notice that it's in the on position already. I always leave them on. If you're using the motorhome but not using the water and you hear that pump coming on and off every now and then, it tells me that there's a leak somewhere. So if you would inform me if that's your experience, that would be wonderful. Otherwise, the pump should only come on when you're using the water. Generator controllers right here. To start the generator, press and hold. It fires up. You can see your generator hours here is 1,134 hours, and I guess 30 minutes with the 0.5 there. It doesn't automatically kick over. My main indicator right here is the microwave. We'll just wait here for a minute, and what'll happen is you'll hear a beep and a click. There it is. And the power has switched over to running on the generator now. So that is my indicator that you got power, everything's hooked up and good to go. You only need the generator or shore power in this motorhome to run the microwave or the TV over here. And typically the air conditioning. I do have to apologize. I just found out that this air conditioning unit is no longer functioning. Had one of the hard lines break on it, and I'm trying to figure out if there's a way to fix that or if that's going to require a full replacement of the AC unit. Fortunately, the weather has cooled off a little bit, and it's not as necessary as it was earlier this year. So AC up here works great, so hopefully that's not too big of a problem. Like I said, we will get that fixed. It's just a matter of figuring out the best way to do that. In the bathroom here, it's pretty much a standard bathroom, nothing fancy. We do have the vents up here. And we do have the vent fan as well. It's important that you don't leave these open while you're driving for 2 reasons. The first one is that the vent cap itself will fall off and disappear. The second thing is that if you leave them open and you're driving, it causes suction, and the toilets are vented. So what will happen is the air will come through the toilet and into the cabin, and that's just not a pleasant experience. It's just not. So there are instructions here to use the toilet. It is a slight pull to add water, a full pull to flush. You always want to make sure there's a little water in the toilet because it creates a seal. Keeps all the gases in the toilet tank and not in the cab as well. You can also fill that ahead of time if you want, so that the water level in the toilet is pretty much adjustable to any height that you would like to have it at. So there you go. We do provide a little bit of RV toilet paper. That is the desired toilet paper. It works well with the systems. If you can't find that, please find something septic safe. It helps the sensors stay reading accurately and prevents clogging, which is not fun either. Standard sink, nothing fancy there. On, off, little drain plug there. Your water pump is located down underneath this panel here. You'll hear it kind of pumping on and off when you're in the bathroom pretty loud, so just a heads up there. Typically you will find your hand towels here. There is a light switch here. And this is your shower stall. Nothing too fancy here either. It's just your standard shower. You got your on switches there. You've got your, this one actually has a footwell in it, which is kind of nice if you need to wash a child or your feet there. It's kind of nice. If you want the shower to work, you just pull up on that like you would in your regular household shower. You got your little shower head there. So that's that guy for you. This wardrobe cabinet here, sorry, get a good face shot of me there. Typically I don't leave hangers in here just because they're really noisy when you're driving, but there are some hangers here. Some extra bedding here as well. This is not a well-supported cabinet. It's tempting to put large luggage in here, but this is really just for lightweight stuff. So make sure you don't overload this guy here. And you got some regular doors down here for whatever else you'd like. Let's see, with your stove here, it's a pretty standard stove. There is no auto ignition on these things, on this particular model at least. So we do provide a lighter. They're usually down here in this drawer. All you do is set your thing to where you want it there. And, sorry, out of frame there. You can light yourself there. I'll do it again just because I was out of frame. So you set your thing to where you want it and just click to light it. Same thing with these back guys here. With the oven here, these are a little different, so if you're not used to them, you always want to have it off. But if you want to light it, you have to put it on pilot. It says push to hold, that's accurate. So you want to press and hold this. And while you're pressing and holding that, I'm gonna set my phone up here, see if we can catch what I'm trying to show you here. There we go. That's what we want to show you. Take your lighter back here, and you light that, and that's your pilot light. So you got to hold that down for a few moments while it heats up that that sensor there, and then you can let go of the button up here, and it'll stay on. And then you just set that to whatever temperature you want to set it at, and it'll go ahead and light itself and do its thing. So there you go. When you're done, like I said, just make sure you get it turned into the off position. That prevents any gas leaks or anything unpleasant from occurring. If it were to leak gas, there is a propane leak detector located right down here, and that'll actually sound off an alarm and shut off your propane, in theory. So I wouldn't rely on it, but it is a good warning system. It will also go off if the battery's low. It'll also go off if you have hairspray or perfume or bug spray or anything really strong like that going on. It can set this off as well. So just a heads up. This under cabinet storage compartment, I honestly don't really recommend using. It's kind of flimsy. We typically store most of your supplies up here for you, and also up here for you. Well, nothing up there today. And also down here for you. So we want to put all the heavy stuff down low, light stuff up high. It keeps things from flying around and doing things. There's your lighter. We got your dish soap here. Empty door down there. When it comes to your refrigerator, I always leave these set for auto. What that does is if you're running a generator, it'll run electricity. If you don't have the generator or shore power hooked up, it'll switch to gas. These are very efficient on propane. Do not worry about how much propane they're using. You might use a couple gallons in a week off of this. So actually works better on propane than it does on electric. So there are little lock tabs on this guy. So you just press them in and open up, and you've got your freezer compartment here. Usually have them pre-chilled. This thing is nice and cold. Never has any problems. Same thing here. And you got your stuff down here. A couple things to warn you about. These fridges are very expensive. They're $2,000 if I have to replace them. There's a few common issues here. Try to show you one without the... Yeah, you'll see this tab here got ripped off. You know, I can only do that a couple of times before I have to replace the refrigerator. So, you know, you want to be gentle with these things and not put too much weight in them. Definitely don't want to, sorry, switch the hand there. Definitely don't want to jerk around on them too bad. You know, if there's stuff inside the fridge, you don't want to slam the fridge on them. Sounds like common sense, but things do get broken. This guy here, this is actually your temperature control. If you want it colder, you slide it to the top of the fridge, and if you want it warmer, you slide it down. It's a pretty basic thing there. That's just a thermostat you slide up and down, or temperature sensor. Your condenser here, normally that's on the outside of your refrigerator, but on these they're on the inside, and you'll notice that there is moisture that builds up on them and it drips just like that. That's why I ran my finger over it so you can see that build up there. See that? There's a tray here that catches that stuff. You see the drips there? It'll collect, and then roll down through this hole out here through a tube that goes out the back of the fridge. So you want to make sure you leave this in here. See all the water that's built up in there? People tend to remove that to get a little extra room in the fridge, but what they end up with is a bunch of soggy food. And then there's a bunch of water all over the fridge, and it's a mess. So definitely want to leave that guy in there. Makes everybody's lives easier. Let's see. This is the main bed up here, the cab over bed. It's got a solid piece of plywood up here to keep it supported. It doesn't have the old style cushions that they used to have. They were all broke down and not so great when I bought it, so I put a nice foam mattress up here, so it's actually pretty comfortable. Let's see. This table does switch down into a bed. You just pull these foot posts out from the table and from the floor. Set the table edge down here on the lip here. This bed here, this couch, if you want to use it as a bed, you'd want to move this chair out of the way. Just like that. And then you can just grab the couch and it'll pull up and it'll flop into a bed. Full disclosure, I only recommend one person laying on this bed and putting your spine right on the crack there. That's the only way I ever was comfortable on it. These guys just tuck into the under compartment there. So here's those guys for you. There are shades in all these guys here, so we can keep that there for you. These lovely pieces of paper there, they're there to keep the windows from rattling when you're going down the road. I think there used to be some sort of a clamp on there when it was new, but those have disappeared, so we work with what we got. Other than that, I think that covers pretty much everything in this RV. You know, if you have any questions after watching this video, please call me, let me know. Happy to help you out with anything that you have questions with. And yeah, other than that, I hope you have a wonderful trip and that the RV treats you well. Thank you.